Can you varnish a print? This is something I have often wondered about. If you don't know what I mean, I'm talking about like that clear protective coat that painters use to put over top of their canvas or their like woodblock painting or whatever it is. Just it's like a traditional thing that people use to basically seal their paintings and protect it. If you're watching this and you're a traditional painter, you're like, well, yeah, duh. But I mean, probably most of my viewers are digital painters, so excuse me as I explain to them what varnish is. It protects the surface from like small scratches and damage and water droplets. It protects from UV damage, even though technically already my prints are already protected from UV damage. And yeah, it's just something you traditionally put on a painting after it's done. Like oil paintings, acrylic paintings, whatever. But I am a digital painter, and yes, even though sometimes I do print on canvas, for the most part my stuff is usually printed on cardstock or it's produced in my studio as a Giclée print. When I do Giclée prints, I actually print on 100% cotton rag paper. It's archival, acid-free. It's like the good stuff. Now, some people do varnish their watercolor paintings, but it's not extremely common because sometimes the varnish will have adverse effects on like a chemical level with the watercolor and the watercolor paper. So can I use it on my Giclée prints? Or will it completely destroy it? And they are not cheap to make, let me tell you. Well, me being me, I was not just going to like sit there and contemplate it. I had to experiment and try it out. So that's what I did, and that's what I am sharing with you today. This is what I learned. For the purpose of this experiment, I am using the Liquitex Glossy Varnish. It leaves a permanent gloss finish, and it is completely transparent. So you can pour the varnish on the print. But because paper is not canvas, it's not a woodblock, paper is extremely absorbent. So you are going to have to deal with some lifting and some curling unless you manage to somehow, because normally with like watercolor paper, what you do before you wet the paper is you tape down the edges so it doesn't stretch and curl and misshape. Since we're doing this after it's already created, I didn't really want to tape it down in case I wrecked the paper. So something to consider in case you do it. You might want to tape it down or tack it down. I did not. So because of that, I'm not using too much. I feel like I'm using just enough. And also, don't touch it. Don't touch it until it's dry, and do not dry brush it or else you're going to ruin the smooth glossy finish. I feel like that goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. And again, I did not anchor this down, but perhaps anchoring it down might help. So I am using the Epson Velvet Fine Art paper. It is 100% cotton rag, and it is 100% acid-free. I'm also using the genuine Epson inks, which are archival in quality and have excellent pigment representation. So far, it does not seem like there are any adverse effects. And when it dries, it has like this really smooth, like supple texture to it. I love it. The paper itself still rolls easily and I don't see any cracking. It almost feels like it's vinyl, and I've basically turned the paper into a vinyl print. And I really like this because that was my main concern. I was worried that if I roll it and I put it into a tube, will whatever I varnish it with crack? So far so good. Now this might change over time, who knows? So I'm gonna keep an eye on it. But as of right now, and it's been a few days since I varnished it, it's okay. This is how it looks a few days after varnishing. It is smooth, it is supple, and I don't notice any discoloration. Of course, I will keep an eye on it. But if the short-term results are anything like what I anticipate the long-term results to be like, I do recommend that as an artist, if you create Giclées, you might consider varnishing them. Experiment with varnish on your Giclées. It leaves it looking a lot like a canvas and feeling like a canvas almost. And of course, it also protects it from subtle dust and sun damage. So there's like absolutely no downside whatsoever that I can conceive as to why I wouldn't varnish a Giclée. I venture to call this experiment a success. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you found this informative and possibly even useful. I will see you next week. Thank you, Nägemist! By the way, I realize I haven't exactly explained what Nägemist means. It means see you later in Estonian. Bye, Nägemist!